What's going on, folks? So today I'm going to be talking about the album by the band Udal Cuain, and I apologize if I mispronounce that. But the name of the album is No One Falls Like a God. This bad boy came out actually May 11th, so it's been out for a little while now. I listened to it back then, but it's hard for me to find time to do album thoughts videos. But the band was so kind as to send me a copy of the album, signed and everything. So the least I can do is give an album thoughts video. So, but thank you so very much to the band for sending me that. It's awesome. I'm so excited to add it to my collection. But before I get into the nitty gritty, let's check out the cover. So, boom, there it is. Take a look at that. I really love this cover. I love the way the band's name is stylized with that kind of symbol in the middle and then no one falls like a god, below it. And just the landscape looks really cool. It looks like this adventurer is kind of emerging from some kind of a cave, and there's some giant entity in the background that they're heading towards, perhaps to battle them or whatnot. But the colors in this the cover are just glorious. I love the light blues, almost purple kind of thing, and then that entity in the background almost looks like it's on fire. It's just a really, really awesome image. So I definitely give major, kudos to the aesthetic design. Now, if you're in the record shop, you're looking through albums and you see this cover, I definitely feel like it would jump out at you. Now, would it convey the style of music that's on the album? That I'm not so sure on. Honestly, if I saw this cover in the record shop, I would think it's some kind of folk metal or sort of album, but definitely I get major folk vibes, and that is not what you get on the album. So I do think someone might, if they just grab the album without listening to it or heard of the band, because they think, oh, this is probably some kind of folky kind of thing or Viking metal even. It's not, so it doesn't quite convey the sound that you get on the album. So someone might grab it and be like, oh, this isn't folky at all. So I'm kind of iffy on that side of things, is as far as is it a good representation of the sound of the album. But cover wise, just aesthetically, lovely, glorious, love it. So anywho, that's that. But yeah, this bad boy's got 8 tracks on there, comes in at about 44 minutes. So yeah, obviously you can tell each track is a little bit on the longer side. Most of them, I would say, are over 5 minutes. There's really only one that's under 5 minutes. So yeah, decent length songs, solid length album. 44 minutes comes in at about the sweet spot for me. It doesn't sound like it's just dragged out or anything like that, but it's also not too short. It's a really nice length. But the sound that you get here, it's quite aggressive, typically, especially with the guitars. It's got a very somewhat aggressive sound to it. Aside from the odd track that's a bit more mellow or ballad like, but typically the guitars are really, really ripping. It's predominantly a power metal album, but with some definite prog metal influences there. So that's really the overall sound that you could expect. But yeah, the guitar work is just phenomenal on this album. Phenomenal. I mean, the riffs and the melodies on the guitars, they tend to be ripping and quite intricate and just excellent. And again, even the guitar tones have a bit of an edge to them. They're not bright or anything like that. They tend to really have an edge, really kind of in your face, and but it is a nice sound. And the guitars, in my opinion, really predominantly drive the songs and the overall sound on the album. But it just killer guitar work on this album. That really is one of the highlights. The vocals are also really well done. There's a lot of variety in vocals on the album, but in a lot of spots, I will say that the vocals remind me quite a bit of Hansi Kirsch of Blind Guardian. There's definitely that similar tone there, and even the sound of this album has a bit of, when Blind Guardian tends to kind of go in their more aggressive, direct route instead of the kind of grand, epic scale, but, more on that direct, aggressive route. That's kind of what this album sounds like. So there's a definite amount of Blind Guardian influence that I can hear. Whether that's intentional or not, I'm not sure, but it's definitely there, and even in the vocals. But yeah, the vocals, I mean, there's just a richness of his voice. He's got a really nice, full voice, and also throws in some screams and some various things. Really plays around a lot with the vocal delivery on these songs, and that's one thing that really adds a nice dynamic quality in addition to the guitars. But yeah, even the vocals, just a lot of creativity in there, a lot of nice delivery, and it adds a lot. It really contributes a lot of nice color to the album that I enjoyed. The drums do a really great job as well, especially because a lot of times the structure of the songs or the songwriting is a little unorthodox, and that can be contributed or can be attributed to the prog influence here. But yeah, the drums do a really great job and all of that. And another thing that was kind of a highlight for me was the keyboard and piano. I mean, it's not woven all the way through, but when it shows up, oh man, it's really nice. I mean, I really was impressed by the keyboard elements on this album. And again, that was some of the highlights for me. So that's the overall sound, the overall performances, which again, I thought all of the performances were spot on, just really, really great. You can tell it's a lot of really talented folks here, but the album starts out with track one, Silence, which that song really kind of just lets you know off the rip what you're in for. So I thought it was a great intro track. You listen to that and you know what you're getting into. And then you get to, track four, Beauty from the Storm, which was one of my favorites. I also like the track two, No One Falls Like a God, but Beauty from the Storm is one of the songs that really kind of highlights the keyboard. There's some just killer keyboard on this song, and it adds a nice diversity to the album, kind of breaks it up a little bit, makes it feel fresh from what came before. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed the keyboard in that song. And then you get track five, St. Petersburg, in a Dream of Ice and Snow, which is the slowest song on the album. It's kind of like the ballad, if you will. But lovely piano work, also really kind of showcases the vocals. And then once you get towards the end, the guitar kind of really kicks in and adds a little bit of a grit to the song. So that was another one that I really enjoyed. Track seven, Sun is Dead. Personally, I feel like that's the weakest link of the album. That song, it's really neither here nor there. It's a bit odd. It's a bit repetitive. And it just doesn't capture kind of the same spark that a lot of the other songs do. So that was definitely my least favorite song. I feel like it's the weak spot of the album. So not really my favorite there. But then track 8, Descent, really kind of ends the album on, again, kind of an aggressive tone. It doesn't ease you out of the album. It's kind of ripping from beginning to end. And even the end, it just kind of hits you, and and then that's it. So it definitely ends the album the way it begins, which it suits the style and the sound of the album. So it works well, and it's a cool song as well. Like I said, I enjoyed the whole album. Aside from track 7, Sun is Dead, I just could not get into that song. Again, weakest link of the album, but everything else to me was definitely above par and really enjoyable. However, the only real other critique that I have is that sometimes in these songs they seem to kind of meander a little bit. Now, someone, you could attribute that to the prog influence and things like that, which is fine and dandy. I dig a little bit of prog in there, add a little nuance to the songs and the structure or the musicianship, things like that. But there are definite times throughout the album where it does feel like the songs are meandering a little bit, where I think a little bit more focus would really benefit the songs and just the album as a whole quite a bit. So while it's not a perfect album, it's really, really well done. It's well constructed, but I do think that, a little bit more focus on some of the melodies and just the structure. Everything doesn't have to have that kind of explorative approach. Again, you can still add those prog influences without the songs just feeling like they're almost aimless at times. So again, I would definitely add a little bit more focus to the structures, things like that, because as I said, occasionally it feels like a song is just kind of meandering or it's almost aimless before it kind of locks back in with a focus and a direction. So some of the songwriting and the structure could definitely benefit from that. Just not again, just focus. A deliberate approach as to approach that just feels like it's just it kind of goes off the rails a little bit before settling back in. So while it's a little bit rough around the edges, this is a debut album here from these folks. So with that being said, I mean, it really is a heck of a debut album. I love the sound. I love the musicianship and the vocals. I really, really enjoyed the vocals a lot. It's just maybe a little bit more focus in the structure. Give the melodies a little bit more love. Maybe tone down the prog elements just a touch. Definitely keep them in there. It's part of the band's DNA. But, maybe tighten things up a little bit. So it's a little rough around the edges. But again, as I said, it's a rollicking, ripping power metal album that has a lot of things here to enjoy for any power metal fans. So very, very solid. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Again, room for improvement, but that's expected, from a debut album. So I for one am really, really excited and curious to see the band's evolution, because this is a very strong foundation that they have set for a debut album. And so, in my opinion, the future is bright, and they can only just really get better from here, which is very, very exciting. So, yeah, killer debut. Really enjoyable power metal album here. It's got its faults, but again, there's a lot to love. So let me know, folks, in the comments down below. Did you listen to this album already? If so, what'd you think of it? And if not, are you going to listen to it? And once you do, be sure to drop a comment and let me know what you think. I'm very, very curious to see what you all have to say about this bad boy. But again, that's Udal Cuain with the album No One Falls Like a God. It's out. It's been out since May, so give it a listen, folks. And thank you once again to the band for sending me the album. Again, I'm very proud and excited and honored to add this to my collection, especially because it's signed. So really cool. Blown away. But that's what I got for you, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. Ranger out.